podcast. Today, we're going live. We're doing our live chat here, which is going to be, I'm going to be answering your HoneyBook systems and business questions live. Now, there are a few questions that I did get that was pre-submitted. If you jump onto the live, you can either post your question inside of the chat, or if you want to jump on this live, let me see if I could give you a link here for you to jump on the live. So decide to go through. If you want to ask your question, feel free to go through and drop it inside of the chat. Let's see what we got here. Jump inside the chat. I do have a couple of questions that were already, here we go, that was already pre-submitted. I'm going to copy this link. I'm going to drop it inside of the chat. And just put it inside of this chat here. And ask your question live. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put this inside of the chat, and let's see if we could go through, and I don't need to pen it, but it's inside of the chat. So we're going to go ahead and answer your questions. If you're new here, my name is Kenniqua Lewter. I am a system strategist and a HoneyBook educator, and I help service providers organize and automate systems to help them simplify their business and their life. And so pretty much they could go through and elevate their client experience, get 10 plus hours back into their week. So I'm going to go ahead and bring up a couple of questions that I got, which was some were pre-submitted. So let me see if I can bring those up. And as I'm going through and bringing those questions up, again, feel free to drop your question inside of the chat, as well as you're able to go through and use that Riverside link that I did drop inside of the chat if you wanted to come in and ask your question on the live. So let me see, what questions did I get? Okay, so one of the questions that I did get, and I'm going to answer some of them here, is can I use HoneyBook projects to add my contractors who do certain projects for me? So the answer to that question is yes. So inside of HoneyBook, you're able to go through and you can add people inside of workspaces. So they may be like contractors that you may have. You may have someone that is maybe like a vendor. You can add them inside of HoneyBook, inside of your workspaces. Okay, so that's the answer to that question. Again, if you're tuning in live, drop your questions inside of the chat, or you can also use that Riverside link that I provided inside of the comments. You can actually come on live with me now and ask your question live if you want to. Okay, so look at the chat and you can ask your question live. Let me see if it will. I'll just show this in stream. Okay, so that is what I just put inside here. Okay, so if you want to come on the line and ask your question live, make sure that you use that link. Okay, use that link, and that link will allow for you to be able to ask your question right now in real time. Okay, right now, real time. Okay, so another question I got that was actually pre-submitted was, what do you like most about the client portal inside of HoneyBook? Okay, so that's a question that I got, is what do you like most about the client portal inside of HoneyBook? So one thing I will say, what do I like most? So I would say at this moment in time, I like that clients have the ability to be able to see all of the correspondence all in one place. So I would have to say that is probably my most favorite thing that I like, is that they can see everything inside of one place, and you can be able to see like their files, their communication. You can even now assign tasks inside of HoneyBook to yourself. You can assign task over to other the clients, you can sign it to other contractors, team members, etc. I will say that HoneyBook is now like in a beta group, so they are coming out with their new client portal 2.0, which is going to look amazing on the client side. So it's going to look a little different on the client side than what it's going to look like to us as providers, but it's definitely a more sleeker type of view, definitely something that I personally am kind of rooting for them to kind of change it on our side as well, just so I can look at it every single day. Let me see. Let me see what other questions that I do have. Again, if you have a question, you have a HoneyBook question, which is a client management tool, you have a systems related question, you're trying to go through and figure out how to go through and organize and streamline your business. Drop those questions inside of the chat. Even if you have a business related question, drop it inside the chat. I would do my best to help you here live. If you want to come on and ask your question live, I dropped the link for you to come on and ask your question live. Let me see. Let me see. What other question did I get? Okay, so another question that I did get pre-submitted was a question, is it possible to add 2 business emails to HoneyBook? So is it possible to add 2 business emails to HoneyBook? I'm initially using this for my photography business, but I also have a graphic and website design business. Both have business email addresses. Okay, so basically the question is, can they add 2 business emails to HoneyBook? So at this time, from my knowledge, you can only just add 1 business email inside of HoneyBook. However, you can have multiple HoneyBook accounts. So you can add another account or like another account profile to your HoneyBook account. They are going to require 2 separate subscriptions. But right now, my understanding is that you could just have just the one, but you can add them where you can still have them basically all under that one login. They just have to be 2 separate accounts. All right, let's see. I think there was another one here. And I like doing this. We will go live. I'm going to be going live every single Tuesday at 12 p.m. Eastern. It's kind of like our lunchtime chat. Sometimes they'll be more structured, where maybe I might be talking about something in particular, but this one we're doing live Q&A. Let me see. I did have another question, so I'm trying to find that one. Let me see. That one I had. I don't think Okay, I think that was the question. So I had that one. Okay, again, so if you have your questions and if you're tuning in live, you can ask your questions in here live. Again, if you're tuning in, I see a couple more people coming in. So if you're tuning in, you want to ask your questions live, feel free to drop them inside the chat. You can also go through and use the link that I dropped inside the chat to go through and ask your questions live as well. So some other common questions that I get while you guys are kind of going through and doing that, if you have any questions about like HoneyBook related questions. So one of the questions that I see that either I get or I know that people need questions or answers to is, what do I need to have ready before setting up HoneyBook? I know a lot of the times when clients either come to me or I hear the issues or experiences that people are having with going through and implementing a HoneyBook or any type of client relationship management tool in their business is, what exactly do they need to have prepped and ready? Now, with our company, there are things that we go through, of course, and we help you with as far as going through and setting up HoneyBook, obviously. But a few things that you want to consider to have ready is having like your forms and documents ready. So this is going to be like, if you use contracts, you need to have your contract ready. If you send out a questionnaire, like part of your process is to send out a questionnaire to gain more insight about the project or what the client's needs are. You need to have those questions ready. You don't have to have the actual questionnaire done. You just need to have the questions ready. What do you need to ask in order to be able to get the lead to book an inquiry with you? What do you need to ask from them to be able to do the deliverable or complete the project. So those are some things that you do need to have ready. Having your branding colors is very helpful, like your colors. If you have some type of special font, all of that is really good. If you have your process down packed, that is going to be good if you have a process down packed, but you don't have to have a full process. Like, so when we go through and we help our clients with getting their HoneyBook set up, we go through and we do the strategy calls with them. So we walk them through a whole 90-minute strategy call. And so with that strategy call, I go through and I help them map out their whole client journey. So they may know certain parts of it, but I go through and say, okay, there's a gap here. Let's go through and fill this. Let's go through and do this, and etc. All right, so I do have a question. Wonderful, wonderful. Let's go ahead and just show it on the screen. The bookkeeping handmade. Hello, hello. What's some good tips on calendar management and connecting it to HoneyBook? Okay, so yeah, that's a great question. And actually, I'll leave it on the stream. Let me turn the timer portion of it off. Yeah, let's turn it off. Just so I'll ask a question so people know what question we're answering here. So what's some blah, 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 what's some good tips on calendar management and connecting it to HoneyBook? So one thing that I like to do as far as with the calendar management part of it is that I like to use Google Calendar to manage my calendar. And then so I connect and it still went off. But I like to go through and manage my Google Calendar to and connect it to my HoneyBook. That way, everything that's going on inside of, because everything that goes on in my life for the most part is all done inside of Google Calendar. So I have gone through, and I'll probably do like another video on this of how I go through and basically do like my ideal week. And so every week I know how my week is going to go and what it is that I need to do. And then I connect my HoneyBook calendar to that for people to go through and to book meetings and strategy calls and things like that with me. You asked, let me see. You asked, do I have multiple calendars or is everything in one calendar? With my Google Calendar, there are multiple calendars. So I have different calendars for different event types. So like, for example, let me see if I could, I'm just gonna bring it up just so I can actually tell you all the calendars that are on it. Because I don't remember from on top of my head. So I have my ideal week calendar. So in essence, like my ideal week calendar is pretty much everything that I do for business. So it's mapped out where, so like, let me see, am I able to share on here? I know last time, well, I probably won't try to share, but my ideal week. So I have my ideal week calendar. That's everything that I have to do for business broken up into days. So each one of my days are pretty much themes. Like, so Tuesdays are my content heavy days. This is when I know that I'm going to be on camera. I know I'm going to be doing meetings. I'm going to be doing that type of stuff typically on Tuesdays. And each day is themed out. So when I come into the week, for the most part, I already know what I'm going to do each and every week. I have different calendars for like events out of office. This I use typically if my kids maybe have doctor's appointments. I'll block it off if maybe I have a section for meetings, but then I don't want to do meetings, so I'll block that off. I have my HoneyBook calendar section here where my HoneyBook calendar, those things will actually show up on my calendar as well. I have my lunch calendar, so that's blocked off too. Yeah, that's blocked off too for like my lunch and things like that. That way because I was also the person that I would either not take a lunch break or it'll just be like random. I'll just be sitting at my desk and never take a lunch. So now I actually have a lunch calendar that's built in that 1 to 2 o'clock, I actually go to lunch every single time. But yes, I do go through and I connect my HoneyBook calendar to Google. That way, any type of events that happen on inside of HoneyBook, those I can automatically see inside of my Google Calendar. And I don't necessarily have to look at the HoneyBook calendar per se. Like I rarely go inside of HoneyBook and look at the actual calendar itself, because all of those events, they're automatically linked inside of my Google Calendar. So hopefully that helped answer that question. Seemed kind of like a long answer, I guess, but hopefully that answered that question here for you. Another common question that we normally get, and again, if you have any questions, feel free to drop them inside the chat. I'm here to answer any of your questions that you do have. Again, you can also use the link in the description box below where I share the Riverside link. So if you want to come on live video here with me now, you can ask your question live. But something else that, another question that we do get is HoneyBook worth it for solo providers or small teams? So even with the cost of HoneyBook going up, I personally feel that it's 100% worth it. And the reason for this is because when I first started my business, I was piecing together a lot of different tools and software together. Like, so I was using Acuity Scheduler, I was using, which I paid for, I was using Adobe Sign, I was using, of course, Google for my email. What else was I using? Google Drive for my storage, which I still use Google Drive, of course. But I was using so many different tools. And what else would I? It was something else that I had to do that I was paying for. I can't remember what else it was. But in essence, I was able to go through and eliminate those things that were costly. I think I was paying $25 a month for Adobe. And then I was paying like $15, $20 for Acuity. So that right there was just for two systems and they didn't even connect together. And so when I was able to go through and switch over to HoneyBook and start using HoneyBook, I was then able to go through and use, like, my sole tech stack is pretty much HoneyBook. There are like three main things that I use inside of my business. That's HoneyBook. HoneyBook handles everything. It has our stores, our contracts. It has our calendar. It has our invoicing. It has, I think I already said scheduling, but it has scheduling. It has all of our files. We're able to do all of that inside of HoneyBook. So really my tech stack looks like HoneyBook for all of my client management needs. And then I use Asana for project management. Now, can I use HoneyBook for managing projects? I could. So I think it just depends on the level for which what you do. So for what I do is I have to have something a deeper level for project management. So like our projects have a lot of tasks to them that have to be completed. And so though you can create tasks inside of HoneyBook, it's not a full blown out at this point in time. They are enhancing it, but it's not a full blown out project management tool where I can't not use like a project management system. Okay. So those are like, that's like my main tech stack right there. HoneyBook, Asana is going to be up on my tabs open all the time. And then anything that has to do with Google. So of course my Gmail, I'm not communicating with my clients via Gmail, even though it is my email address, but I'm always communicating with my clients inside of HoneyBook. Like if I'm sending them an email, I'm sending it from HoneyBook. I'm sending it from their profile in HoneyBook. If I'm getting leads that are coming in, those leads that they're also coming through HoneyBook as well. And that's how I'm communicating with them. So I am going to my email and I'm checking my email, but most of my communication that I have to do, most of it's inside of HoneyBook. Let me see. I have another question. Let me put the answer in here. Let me see. I have two questions. Let's show that one. And hold on one second. Let's take this timer off. We don't need a timer on this. Okay. Let me see what the questions that you have. Okay, so that's a good idea to have separate HoneyBook calendar. Yeah. Yeah, so my Google Calendar is separate. So my Google Calendar has the separate calendars and then the HoneyBook has its own calendar inside of my Google Calendar. Yes. And so every event that happens inside of HoneyBook will show up inside that Google Calendar with that HoneyBook event calendar, if that makes sense. You asked here, what type of HoneyBook events would be on the calendar. So this would be any type of events that have to do with any type of the schedulers that are inside of HoneyBook. So this could be our strategy calls, these are discovery calls, these are any type of scheduler events that we have. So we have the discovery calls, we have strategy calls, we have onboarding and offboarding calls. So those will actually show up there. And also too, what will flag on our calendar too is any type of when a client is booked, it will flag for the project date. So like the project date will also flag on the calendar. So that way we can see that a project is booked for that particular day. Now, with the type of business that I have, I do system strategy, I do HoneyBook setups and system setups. With us, it doesn't matter to us whether or not it's quote unquote double booked. For us, there is no double booked. We actually start all our projects at the beginning of the month. So like all of our, like say for example, full HoneyBook setups, all of those are all start now. We've changed our process where they're all going to start at the beginning of the first week of the month, and they're all going to end the last week of the month. That way everyone is actually going through the same process. We're doing the same process for everyone at the exact same time. So we've always done the same process. They just have all had their own time frame. So everybody goes through like our 10 steps that we have mapped out in Asana, our 10 phases, but we might be on phase number 2 for one client. We might be on phase number 4 for another client. But instead of doing that now, we're making it where everybody is going to be on the same phase all at one time. So now there's not everybody knows exactly when they're going to be due, even though they know that before in Asana. But everybody starts on the first week of the month. Everybody ends the last week of the month. So now we can get them done in a 4-week window. But those are the type of events that actually show up on side of a Canva. The question is, and again, you guys, if you have any questions, you can chat and you can put it inside the chat, ask your questions, and then you do have the opportunity. I didn't pin it, but let me see if it'll let me pin it. It won't let me pin it, but if you scroll to the top of the stream, there is a link that I put. Matter of fact, let me just share it again. There is a link if you want to come on live. Like, so if you want to come on video right now with me, you can. If you want to ask your question, you can do that. I'm gonna paste it in here again because it's a little bit further on the stream and it won't let me pin it. So I just dropped it again. I guess I'll drop it a couple more times. But question, do you have a service where you only set up automations for a client? So right now, I don't have a setup for only automations. Like this is like the automations package. What I do, however, is I have a lot of back end services that I offer to clients that work with me that are not front facing because I don't want to basically overwhelm people with so many different options. When clients come to me and they come to me through one of our core offerings, and once we see a need for additional services, then we can actually offer them something that's custom on the back end. So with our HoneyBook, there's basically 2 core offerings that we do have, which is our audit. So we'll audit your HoneyBook account, making sure, so I do like a video audit that goes through to make sure everything from settings to inquiry to offboarding, that's our thing, inquiry to offboarding, that everything is set up correctly, and see what are there opportunities or gaps inside of like your workflows and automations, etc. Right? And then I give you a checklist of my feedback, like, hey, these are the things that I recommend that you go through and work on. From there, you can decide of whether or not you'll DIY them or whether you want us to go through and fix those gaps. And once we go through, if you're like, hey, I want you to go through and fix these gaps, if one of those gaps is automation, then you will be able to say, hey, let's go through and let's talk about how much would it cost for me to set up these automations. Because for some people, they may just need one workflow, right? And then others may say, hey, I need a whole build out. I want to have like 4 or 5 different automations. And then we set up those for you. So on our front facing side, no, we don't have like just an automation package. But if you come through the door of an audit or you come through the door of a full HoneyBook setup, then we do have back end offers that we do offer our clients for additional support. Like, so some of our clients that even get full HoneyBook setup, they work with us monthly just to check on their HoneyBook account. Like, I literally check their HoneyBook account every single month just to make sure that their HoneyBook account is good. That's not an offer that's on our website, but that's an offer that we give our clients that have the need. After they work with us, then we provide them with that offer. Thoughts on Windows 98? I have no thoughts. I have no clue. I have no clue. Let me make sure I didn't miss any other question. Okay. Oh yeah, I did miss a question. I'm sorry, Dorian. I did miss your question. Do you use any AI tools? Yes. So I do use a couple of AI tools at the present moment. I honestly try to go through and keep my tool stack as low as possible, because I know, like, early on in my business, like, I would go through and I was the person that would, let me test this out, let me test that out. And so I try to keep my tech stack pretty low. However, as far as AI, I'm definitely a Chat GPT girl. I use ChatGPT in a lot of different ways. Of course, use it for my content creation, to be able to write emails, for it to write my copy, for like website copy. I'm inputting information. Hey, rewrite this, or I need it to sound more like XYZ, or, so I'm definitely using that for ChatGPT for that. I mean, I'm even using it for, I've used it for offer creation. Like, I need you to help me create an offer. I need an offer that's going to um, do, XYZ. So there's a kind of a few different things that I put into this. So definitely for offer creation. I use AI for, so like inside of like what I'm in now, which is what I'm using now to stream to you guys, is called Riverside. And so inside of Riverside, they do have like an AI companion where after like a live or after I record something, then it goes through and it'll automatically clip like short clips from my sessions. So that's very helpful, something that I can go through and I can share on social media. For the most part, ChatGPT is probably the biggest one, with the exception, like a separate one, I would say, with the exception of like built in AI. So, and when I mean built in, I mean like built in other things, like things that are built inside Riverside or built inside. I use, this is a question that we're answering. I use, Asana for my project management. So I use AI for the projects inside of Asana. So like every single like week, AI will give me a recap of that project, and it's based off of things that I've checked off on the project, and it'll give me like a status based off of what we're checking off, like what we're working on, what comments have been made, is going to be able to give me a status of the project. And it also, so like each one of the, like inside of Asana, I also have my editorial calendar, which is my, for like my content. So it's for like my social media content, which I'm trying to get better on social media, but it's for my, basically for my podcast and for my YouTube channel. So I have all my ideas in there, but it gives me a recap of that. And then I have all my projects that I handle with clients. Each client has their own project inside of Asana. So we allow our clients to be able to have full access to what it is that we're working on. So like when you work with us, like when we're doing like HoneyBook builds, you can literally see what we're doing. Like we give you, like we show you all 10 stages of what we're doing, and we assign tasks that are assigned to that client. And it also has like a dashboard where they can see in real time what is being done. So like if they want to check up on us in the 4 weeks, they can go and, but oh, okay, this is where they're at. They're almost done, right? So yeah, but we do use AI in built in things that we already use. But right now, that's like the main thing that I just use. It's just Chat GPT. Um, yeah, just Chat GPT is in most of them. There's a couple other that I try to explore, but mostly just for like content creation and stuff like that. So hopefully that answered that question for you. All right, so feel free, guys, drop your questions inside of the chat here. What's another question that we normally get? Boom. Okay, so yeah, HoneyBook question. So, can I use HoneyBook if I have multiple offers or multiple client types? So, yes. So, if you have multiple offers and multiple client types, you can definitely use that inside of HoneyBook. What we like to do for our clients in those cases is that, and it depends on how you want to go through and even on the back end automate your business, but there's like a question that you can add to your contact form, like what service are you interested in? And you can have like the 3 or 4 different services that you're interested in, especially if they're uniquely different. So they're actually really different. And then based off of what they chose, you can actually go through and set up an automation based off of that selection. So like each one of your services or client types, they might not necessarily take the same client journey, right? So like let's say you are a photographer and maybe you offer wedding photography, but then you also offer brand photography. Well, the questions that you're going to ask someone or the next steps for someone that's interested in wedding photography is going to be different than a person that's interested in brand photography. And so therefore, we will go through and we can separate those actual client types and give them their own different stream inside of HoneyBook through automation. So that can definitely be something that is done. Question, Dorian. All right, so have you ever tried Notion and what are your thoughts on it? So I have tried Notion. I do have Notion. I have a board or two inside of Notion. I have not honestly really given it much, explored much on it. I do like Notion of the idea of storing a lot of my stuff in one place. So what I mean by that, and not just like a store it like a Google Drive type of store it, but like having all of my business assets and like SOPs and all of that in one place. However, I like the look of it of how I can do that part. But then when I think about where I am actively going to do the thing or do the work, I always kind of just like, So like I have like this board. I purchased it. I did purchase this board that I bought in Notion. And it's wonderful. I love it. It's definitely something that I would promote to others. But it's just like, as far as my workflow in it, I'm like, will I actually do things in Notion? And for me, the answer is just no. Like, I literally, like, I wouldn't use it for a content planner because I like using Asana to plan all my content. And literally, my steps and my SOPs, they're in Asana where I'm actively working. And so it's like, I like this, but it's like, I don't really know. I don't really know if it's something that I would really use. You said, have I ever compared HoneyBook to Notion? So they are different. So HoneyBook is a client management tool. So basically to be able to manage all of your clients from inquiry, invoicing, contracts, being able to schedule. Notion, I haven't dove that deep into Notion, but Notion, I would say, is more of, if I were to put it into a realm, it would be more of the realm of productivity type of tool or project management, somewhat kind of than that. So they are going to be significantly different. um I would not use Notion. Just from the times I've been in there, I wouldn't even attempt to try to use Notion as like a CRM. I'm not that deep into it to say you can't send invoices. I don't think you can, but I'm not 100% sure neither. I haven't really dove that deep into it. But yeah, I wouldn't they're not the, but one thing I can say is that they're not the same. They're not the same tool. So, but if it is something, because I know some people, they absolutely live and breathe Notion. And so I really just think like when you're thinking about like your tech stack is like, where do you feel the most comfortable and where are you going to, where does it make sense for your mind and the way that you work, and where are you already working? So like for me, like because I already have a tool that now it's like I work in Asana. That's on my screen. HoneyBook Asana is always up on my screen. I'm always working in Asana every single day. I'm working inside of HoneyBook every single day. And so these are the main two tools. And like to introduce another one that really does the same thing is kind of like my Asana. The layout is a little bit different, but it's like, is it really about the layout or is it about being more productive and being able to do what I need to do? So that's what I would think about is when you think about the tools and when you start to think about like your tech stack, to think about, okay, do I already have something that already fills this particular need in my business, right? Because if you do, then you can just go through and you can simply just delete it, right? I don't feel like you actually need it if you're already using something similar. Let me see. Yeah, you said Notion's too overwhelming for me to use on a daily basis. I agree. Like I have looked inside of there several times. Like I'm like, oh, and I like I said, I bought this product, which was a decent price. Like it won't cheap, but I'm like, I bought it because I'm like, oh, this is exactly what I'm looking for. And it's like, but my habits don't take me there, right? And I think too, I think that's very important just to kind of just realize, not necessarily like with the, well, kind of like with the tools and software that you use, but also like the systems that you're creating in your business, is that understanding that your habits, like you have to begin to think differently to start to be able to implement systems and tools into your business, because you have to create a habit around it. So it's so easy to go through and like I'll go through and purchase Notion, but then I have to be in the habit of going to Notion and actually inputting information into Notion. If I continue to do what I've always done, then I'll never use it, right? And sometimes that's what happens to us, is that we'll start to go through these paths of getting these tools because, maybe we saw someone else do it, maybe we purchased something, it just looks nice, but we're not in the habit of actually going through and using it. So it's kind of like too, like, when like setting up HoneyBook or something like that. A lot of times, one of the things that I hear from a lot of clients that come to us, a lot of people that jump on our discovery calls, majority of them have HoneyBook. They have it. They know that it's important. They know what it does, but they haven't really utilized it. Like they may have just sent out a contract, they may have just sent out an invoice, but they've just stopped there. And a lot of times it's just the habit of not utilizing it and just, it's the know-how, of course. But the other thing is also too, it's the habit of just not going in there and actually using it. Like literally HoneyBook is something I use every single day. I'm in there every single day, every day. It never fails. I'm in there every day, all day, looking at stuff, sending stuff, replying to stuff, because that's what I do. In the morning time, I'm answering emails. Those emails are coming from HoneyBook. They're inside of HoneyBook. Those notifications are inside of HoneyBook, because I have a habit of, I only going to send you an email if it's from HoneyBook. So I don't have to worry about it just being in my Gmail. It's going to be inside HoneyBook because that's where I'm sending it from. All right. So if you have any questions, go ahead and drop them inside of the chat here. Let me see what other questions that we do have. Most common questions. Let's see. Okay, so here's one is what automation, so this is inside of HoneyBook or wherever you're going to do it. Does actually, this part doesn't even matter, is what automations should I set up first to save time? What I try to advise people of is when they're set up automation, because most of the time, what I find is, of course, most of us want to go through and we want to set up automation. Like we know that automation is going to save us time. We just don't necessarily know how it's going to save us time or what exactly that we need to have in place prior to going through and set up automation. One thing when you set up automation is that you must remember that you need to have everything set up prior, everything that's needed for that automation set up prior to doing it. So if that automation requires you to have a particular email, then you need to have that email template created before it. If this automation is going to require it to trigger to send some type of questionnaire or some type of file, then that questionnaire or file has to be created before you can set up the automation. And so sometimes we want to kind of just jump in and we just want to start automating things. But we really want to think about like, what's the purpose of this automation? What do we want the client to get or to see or have without us being there? So one of the things that I recommend that every person starts off as far as automation, if you can just automate that first email when they inquire about your services, that is going to be perfect. Okay. You're going to build upon it from there, right? Sometimes I think like we'll see companies that have so many things automated. You're like, dang, this person, like, it seemed like they ain't getting nothing real from them. I know they're not sending me emails at 2 o'clock in the morning or 3 o'clock in the morning. Like they literally have every single thing automated, which they may. But a lot of times that takes time to actually get to that place. And if you're just starting out either new in your business or you're just starting implementing systems into your business, is you're not going to get there just like your day one. So the first initial email when someone goes through and inquires about your service, to just say, they put that inquiry in and they just say, thank you for your inquiry. We will get back to you here shortly, or whatever it is that next step that you want them to take. That is going to be gold for you, because most people go with service providers that answer them the quickest. So if you have someone that's coming to you that's like, oh, I'm interested in your photography services, they are a lot of times they are interested in the first person that responds back to them about the photography. Like, so if they're just going through and they're searching for people on the internet, Google, TikTok, whatever, they may be coming to you because maybe they ran into some of your content. But if you're running a business where they're searching for this type of stuff, or like they're looking for Google reviews or whatever, like they're just looking for the first person to answer who can answer them, right? Or who they can jump on a call for first. And you can be that person by just setting up just a simple automation, right? Just set up a simple automation. Thank you for your inquiry, and then build it out from there. And your automation is definitely going to also require you to actually have a system and process in mind. So a lot of the times is that we want to go through again and automate, but we don't know where we're going. And so, in order for you to be able to automate a process, meaning that you're taking a system and you're triggering certain things. So, this is going to trigger this action to happen. In order for you to set a trigger and set actions, you have to know where you're going. And so, that's where systems actually come into place. Like you actually writing out a system, like this is going to be my onboarding process. I'm going to have a person inquire about my services. I'm going to send them an email to book a discovery call with me. And then once they book that discovery call, they'll get a confirmation email of their booking. And then they'll get a couple reminders, right? And they'll just show up to, and I'll just show up to this discovery call, right? Literally in HoneyBook allows you to be able to do that quite simply inside of HoneyBook. Like literally when someone inquires about our services, I see it. Of course I see it because I'm inside of HoneyBook, but I see it after a lot of times they have done the thing, right? They have done the discovery call. If they send an inquiry, but they don't book a discovery call in some instances on some of our automations and stuff like that, we have follow-ups that are already set up. I don't have to follow up with them. All I'm responsible for doing initially is just to show up to the discovery call once the discovery call is booked. But again, that's just a process that you can later put in your business excuse me, in your business once you start going through and getting automation set up. Let me see. What are some other questions? And again, if you have any questions about what I'm talking about, anything HoneyBook systems, business related, drop them inside of the chat and I can answer those questions for you. We'll probably be on for like another 10 minutes or so, but we will be back again. Like I said, I am gonna go live every single Tuesday at 12 p.m. I did say I would try to keep it at 30 minutes, but we'll see. It's some days might be 30 minutes, some days it might be an hour. Today I guess it's probably going to be the hour. But if you have any questions, just let me know. But we will be live again. If you're not already, definitely tune into the podcast portion, okay? The Systems Rehab podcast. You can subscribe to it from Apple, Spotify, YouTube, anywhere you listen to podcasts, okay? Because I do drop podcast episodes every single week, normally on Wednesdays. The video version goes here on YouTube on Thursdays, okay? So be sure to subscribe there. But again, I will be um, live every Tuesday. Okay, so what other questions? Drop your questions, but let me see what other questions I do have that are pretty common that people do ask. All right, so systems. So just a systems question here is like what systems should every service provider have in place? Okay, so what systems should every service provider have in place? So there's a couple of systems that I believe that people should have in place as providers. Now I would say there's like a top core, like a top six core systems. And this is one of the offers that we do have is helping people with their systems. And so some of the core systems that I believe people have, and so I'm actually going to just bring it up on ours because it has each one. That way I can tell you all six of them. And of course, the first one is going to be client management. So client management is going to handle your onboarding, your offboarding, your communication. This is where you're going to send out your invoices, your contracts, your scheduling. So this is going to be like a system like your HoneyBook. Does this mean that you need to use HoneyBook? No, you don't have to use HoneyBook. You can find some other type of client management system that might work for you. So you might decide you want to use Dubsado, or maybe there's some other system that you have in mind or you research that you might want to go through and use. The point is just to go through and use some type of client management system. If you don't know which one that you want to use, just explore. A lot of them do offer a free trial, probably somewhere in the comments or in the, I can actually drop it in the comments, but somewhere on this video, it has a link to sign up for a free trial. I'm gonna drop it inside the chat, but it has a free trial for you to be able to sign up for HoneyBook. You can sign up for, you can also sign up free trial plus 30%. But free trial, I'm writing it here, free trial plus 30%. But there is also a lot of other platforms, no matter what tools you use, a lot of them actually do. A lot of them, just to make sure I missed no question. Okay, a lot of them actually do have free trials. Trials some free trials and see which one is actually going to be the best one for you. So you have your client management, then your project management. So like I said, for my project management, I like to use Asana for project management. This is where you're going to actually do like your task tracking. This is where you can manage projects for your clients. You can go through and keep like statuses on certain things. So like everything that I do in my business, it also like inside of Asana, we have like what's called like team spaces. So Asana has team spaces. And so some of our team spaces that we have is that we have marketing, we have finance, we have operations, we have services and products, and we have clients. And now I'm actually building out like the company dashboard. I want to see how that's going to look in Asana. That's kind of like when Dorian was asking the question about Notion. I have a company dashboard or Notion. I haven't really put anything in it because, again, like I said, I purchased it, but I'm thinking that I might try to build out something similar just inside of Asana because this is where I live. So we have those different types of teams, and inside of each team is where we can put applicable projects inside of those. So like marketing has like our editorial calendar. This is for my podcast. This is for the YouTube. We also have like our podcast project where each one of the podcasts, like we keep track of like what podcast numbers are and everything like that. We have our leads and outbound marketing projects as well. Our operations, So operations are a lot of the operations are mostly like our templates and things like that, but those are going to be things like for our podcast management, our SOP templates. This is going to be for our HoneyBook deliverables. This is going to be for our website design deliverables, even though, again, not a front facing offer that we have, but something that if our clients that come to us through one of the designated doors, we could definitely go through and offer them. Let me see what question you have, Dorian. Let's see. What inspired you to narrow your service offerings down to focus solely on the system setups? I remember watching one of your older videos where you said you offered a ton more once upon a time. Yeah, so I feel like it's so much easier. And I know that sometimes that sounds uh it sounds crazy to say like it's so much easier to offer just one or two things. But it is, because when I offer one or two things is that now it's I know the people that I serve so much better because I'm only talking to these people now. So like my ideal client, they are talking to me on discovery calls. I get their questions, I get their DMs, I get their emails. And so now I'm only getting those questions all the time. And so now I know exactly how to speak directly to them and the things that they're mentioning to me all the time. And so it made it so much easier for me to, number one, come up with an offer for systems and then HoneyBook. And really and truly, systems and my HoneyBook are really pretty much the same. However, with HoneyBook, I'm specifying that I'm going to work with HoneyBook, right? Because a lot of times people come to me for HoneyBook. But when we do systems, we do various systems. Like we do, again, like project management, client management. We do business systems as far as like your back end systems, time and calendar management. So it's a little bit more broad as far as systems because systems can get a little bit deeper. But as far as just kind of pushing down everything else and pushing everything else away, like website design, and I was, like I said before, I was a virtual assistant once upon a time, so I was doing a lot of work for other people. I noticed that, number one, I didn't like doing work for other people in that type of way. Like that didn't really move the needle for me. And being just like a VA, like you're just giving me busy work, like just doing stuff. Let's make some graphics and stuff like that. That's not necessarily my what I really wanted to do. And so when I started to kind of go through and narrow down those offerings, I wanted to actually work where I knew that the services that I was going to be offering, the work that I was going to be doing was really transformational, right? Because systems are transformational. These are the things that will help your business grow. These are the things that will help your business scale. These are the things that will help you to get more time back in your day and spend more time with your family, make you more money, because more money gives you choices. If you make more money, you have more choices, period. And so that's what systems ultimately give you. Every single person that's millionaires, multimillionaires, billionaires, six figure earners, it doesn't matter. They all have systems in their business and in their life. And so it's so important to be able to do that. And so, yeah, it helped me to be able to just go through and be able to, I know in and out the people who come to me because they only come to me for one thing now. They only come to me for systems, and it's systems and HoneyBook, which is a part of the system, client management. It's all the same thing. So hopefully that helped answer that question. All right, so the type of systems, we're going to close out here in this moment here, but what systems should every service provider have in place? So again, my top three, and if I were to say top three, of course, there's so many other systems that you can have. So many other systems that you can have. But my top three are going to be your client management, like I mentioned before, your project management, because there has to be a way of how you're going to go through and manage the work that you do. Okay. And the reason why, like, yes, you can get a planner, like you can write it down on a piece of paper. And if that's how you go through and manage your workload, that could work to a certain degree, right? Because if you write in your planner, only you can see what's in your planner. If you have a team, they can't see what's in your planner, right? So you still would have to go through and send them an email or whatever to be able to do that. Another thing a paper planner cannot do is it cannot remind you. It's not going to send you a notification to tell you, oh, you forgot to do XYZ. Versus if you actually use a project management tool, it can tell you that, hey, you didn't do this task is overdue, or reminding you that this is actually coming up and you need to work on XYZ, right? And then everybody that you're working with, whether you have a team, you don't have a team, you have contractors, everyone can actually be in alignment. Even your clients you can assign things to your clients. Now everybody is on one page. So project management. And then the last one in the top three, anyway, is going to be time and calendar management. So this is going to come into play when it comes into being able to track your time, to know exactly like how much time do you really have in order to be able to, hold on one second, guys. Where is my, hold on one second. Okay. I am back. Okay. So one thing the last thing is going to be the time management, because that's going to be where you're going to be able to go through and manage your time, go through and manage your capacity, like learning how much work can you actually do, right? And so a lot of times you won't know that unless you go through and you learn how to go through and manage your time and manage your calendar. For me, if something's not on my calendar, if I didn't tell you that I got you locked in on the calendar, or you didn't send me an invite on the calendar and I have approved it, that means it's not happening if it's not on the calendar, because I have to go through and I have to protect the calendar, right? I have to protect the calendar because that's how I go through and operate. If I want to go through, if it's something like I love doing things, like I'm the type of person, because I do work for myself full time, I am the person that I am going to go, I like going to the movies during the week. It's the summertime. I'm going to take my kids to the movies during the week, during the day. That's when I'm going to do it, when it's not that many people there and it's less expensive to go during that time, right? If I'm going to go to, like we have tickets, we go to Busch Gardens. I'm going to go to Busch Gardens during the week because we don't have to wait. We don't have to wait. We don't need a quick queue pass, whatever it's called. We don't need that. Because when we go during the week, during the day, there's nobody there because everybody's at work, right? But those type of things too, I block into my calendar to know that, okay, Wednesday, we're going to Busch Gardens. We're not going to do anything on Wednesday. And I know that I'm not going to have any client meetings. I'm not going to have anything to do that day because I have managed my time to know that, okay, this is important to me for this day. I'm going to make sure I do this. And then I can work my client work around doing those other things. So that's very important. So those are the top three that I recommend that you start to really kind of implement into your business: your client management, project management, and also your time and calendar management. Let me see. All right, Dorian said, I love the story time. So helpful for me because I'm just starting out in the virtual assistant, virtual business space. I thought I wanted to be a VA, but now I'm rethinking it because I don't like to do busy work either. So one thing I will say, Dorian, about that is because it's funny because I was doing a podcast, a guest podcast episode. I think it aired last week with Jillian Dolberry. And so it was funny because, and she's a strategist as well. And, operations manager, I believe. But even she said that she started off as a virtual assistant. And I will say that I don't believe that, and I could be wrong, but I don't believe that I would have been able to know that I wanted to be a system strategist without being a virtual assistant first. A lot of people that I talk to that are strategists that are doing other things, especially like from a VA, a lot of times I see people stem off from being a VA to maybe a strategist, whether that's a system strategist, um, or like they might turn into like a OBM, which is an online business manager. a lot of the times they came from a base of being a virtual assistant first. And so I don't think the and I guess I don't even want to say the small beginnings, because you can do a lot as a virtual assistant, right? But I think that virtual assistant is one of the easiest ways to really start to get into the virtual assistant, get into the virtual space, like as an online business manager. And I think that it's a great start, because even though you don't like to necessarily do busy work, you're going to learn so much, I believe, from the people that you work with, that is then going to help you to be able to then kind of hone in to what exactly it is that you really do want to be and you want to start to work towards. So hopefully that makes sense. Yeah, the busy work, it just wasn't for me. I don't like to do my own busy work, so like it wasn't for me either. But I can say, and I didn't do it. I was a VA for maybe 2 years, and in all actuality too, because even during that time, like I still have my YouTube channel and stuff like that. I feel like even though I was doing quote unquote virtual assistant work, I don't really feel like the clients that I had really had me doing a whole bunch of like real VA type of stuff for real. Like they were, put it like this, they were using me for strategy, because and I had my title at virtual assistant when I first started virtual assistant. So like I was giving out so much business advice. I was giving out so much business advice and strategy, but my title at the time was virtual assistant, and I was getting paid like a virtual assistant, but I was giving out strategy. So but yeah, I wouldn't worry about it. I definitely would just, I would start off as a virtual assistant, kind of get your foot wet and to figure out what exactly it is that you do want to do, as far as like what type of angle you want to take in your online space, and really just write down, like I think the biggest thing is, and I'm gonna wrap this question up, but just kind of write down what are you good at, and what other people say that you're good at. Because you'll be surprised. Like, so if you're, because sometimes people say, I'm not good at anything. Everybody's good at something. So if you don't know what you're good at, ask other people around you, your friends, your family, what am I good at? And then think about, okay, what the things that they say, how can I translate this to something that I can offer virtually, something that I can offer online with like my computer, and then kind of dwindle it down from there. As far as, but starting out in the VA space, I think is fine. Definitely just make sure you price yourself right. Price yourself accordingly. Don't go too low on your price. Yeah, and kind of keep your boundaries about what it is that you are going to do and what you're not going to do. Because I do see too, like I'm on Threads a lot. If you guys want to follow me on Threads, it's under my name, Kenniqua Lewter. And but one thing I do see sometimes is like, especially with the VAs, a lot of times people are now having VAs do work that is not like VA work. Like they'll have their VAs do social media. And it's like, but VAs are not social media managers, but they try to put them in that space. So kind of just do that. Let me see. Princess Hulk has a question. Do you have a gas mask if you put it on your Hughes? Okay. I don't know what that question is. Okay. It's a word. Okay. Okay. So I don't know what those questions are. But all right. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up. I appreciate you guys again just joining me here live for just answering these, asking your questions. Definitely, I will be live again. Like I said, I'll be live again next week. I'll put up the next topic here soon, I guess. But I'm gonna make sure that the Q&A ones, I kind of rotate these ones out. That way you can come and ask your questions as well. So I'll make sure I rotate those here, but we'll be going live on the behind the systems here on the podcast every single week. Every single week we'll be going through and putting getting those, I'm losing my train of thought, but going through and making sure that we're going live every single week here. So I appreciate you guys joining me again. Tune into the Systems Rehab podcast, anywhere that you're listening to podcasts, Apple, Spotify, YouTube, or anywhere else. And be sure to subscribe. And I will see you guys again next week live and up on the YouTube channel later on this week. Bye.